It all began when Anakin Skywalker revealed the truth he had been hiding from the Jedi Council. Chancellor Palpatine, the man he had trusted for so long, was actually the Sith Lord who had manipulated galactic events from the shadows. Anakin's decision to tell Mace Windu left him restless, torn between his duty to the Jedi and his fear for Padme Amidala's life. While he waited in the Jedi Council chambers, his mind wandered through his deepest fears. However, everything changed when he received a call from Ahsoka Tano, his former apprentice. Ahsoka had just confronted Maul on Mandalore, and the revelations Maul had made still echoed in her mind. According to Maul, Anakin was the key to Palpatine's plan, a weapon carefully manipulated from the beginning. Ahsoka's words hit Anakin, forcing him to see the truth with a clarity he hadn't had before. For the first time, he understood that everything Palpatine had done was meant to corrupt him. The revelation shook him, but it also gave him resolve. He could no longer allow the Chancellor to continue. He decided to act on his own and finish what the Jedi were about to begin. Anakin entered the Chancellor's office with a determination he hadn't felt before. As he did, he came face to face with the man he had once believed to be his mentor and friend. Palpatine remained calm, almost expectant, as if everything was unfolding exactly as he had planned. In his eyes shone the cunning of someone who still believed he could control Anakin. As the air in the room thickened with the dark energy of the dark side, Palpatine began to lay out his final gambit, a combination of manipulation and temptation, trying to remind Anakin of his deepest fears. But this time, Anakin saw beyond the Sith's words. It was no longer about Padme or his fears. It was about the truth Ahsoka had helped him see. He had been a pawn in the Dark Lord's hands all along. Soon after, Mace Windu and the other Jedi Masters arrived at the office, ready to arrest Palpatine. But the situation quickly turned deadly when the Chancellor revealed his true nature. With a burst of dark energy, Palpatine unleashed Force lightning upon Windu, igniting a violent confrontation. The flashes of blue light and the roar of the energy filled the room. Anakin stood frozen, trapped between loyalty and fear, unable to intervene. However, as Windu began to gain the upper hand and prepared to strike Palpatine down, the Sith Lord used his final trick, pushing Windu aside with the Force. Anakin, witnessing this last act of defiance, knew what he had to do. He could no longer hesitate. With a flash of determination, Anakin ignited his lightsaber. Palpatine, realizing that his manipulation had failed, quickly drew a second saber he had kept hidden. What followed was an epic and brutal duel. Anakin, fueled by years of deception and pain, fought with a fury unlike anything he had ever displayed. Each strike he made was driven by the betrayal and the realization that Palpatine had been orchestrating his fall all along. Though weakened by his previous battle with Windu, Palpatine was still a master of the dark side. Every move was deadly, every word dripping with venom as he continued to tempt Anakin, offering him the power to save Padme, trying to draw him into the darkness. But Anakin resisted. The battle raged on, with their lightsabers clashing in a storm of sparks. Objects in the room were hurled by the Force. The walls rattled with the power of their conflict. Palpatine, though once the most powerful Sith in the galaxy, began to falter. Anakin, driven by his need for justice and redemption, pressed his advantage. Palpatine, realizing his defeat was near, grew desperate, his attacks growing more erratic, more unbalanced. Finally, Anakin disarmed Palpatine, forcing him to the ground. The Dark Lord was weakened, exhausted, and cornered. As Palpatine lay before him, defeated, Mace Windu, injured but resolute, urged Anakin to finish it, to end the Sith and restore peace. Palpatine, now powerless, tried one last time to appeal to Anakin's fear, reminding him that only the dark side could save Padme. But Anakin, now fully aware of the manipulation and lies, knew he could not let fear control him any longer. With a swift and decisive strike, Anakin ended Palpatine's life. The Dark Lord of the Sith was dead, not at the hands of a Sith apprentice, but by the hand of a Jedi who had finally chosen the right path. In the aftermath of Palpatine's death, the galaxy began to awaken to the gravity of what had just occurred. The Jedi Order had triumphed, but the emotional toll was high, especially for Anakin. With the Chancellor dead and the shadow of the dark side dissipating, Anakin knew there was still one final truth to reveal, one that he had kept hidden for far too long. Returning to the Jedi Council, Anakin stood before the Masters with a solemn but resolute expression. The silence in the room was heavy, as if everyone present could sense the weight of what he was about to say. Anakin stood tall and began to confess. For the first time, he openly spoke of his relationship with Padme Amidala, revealing that they had secretly married and that she was expecting their 2 children. The news was met with shock and confusion. The Jedi, guardians of a strict code that forbade attachments, looked upon him with a mixture of surprise and concern. He had broken the Jedi code in a way that could not be ignored, but despite this, Anakin felt no remorse. He explained that his love for Padme, while forbidden, had been what kept him fighting, and that his fear of losing her had been the key Palpatine used to manipulate him. With a firm voice, Anakin admitted his mistakes but also acknowledged that the Jedi Code, as it stood, could no longer be the only guide for the Order. The Jedi had lost their connection to the compassion and love that once defined them. Anakin had seen firsthand the devastation caused by the fear of attachment, and now he knew that the Order needed to change. The Council remained silent. Yoda, with his wisdom and deep understanding, was the first to break the quiet. He knew that what had happened was grave, but he also understood that the balance of the Force often manifested in unexpected ways. Anakin had faced the hardest choice of his life, to confront the truth, not only before Palpatine, but before the Jedi and himself. Now, with his family and the hope of a different future, he knew that the galaxy needed to be rebuilt not with fear, but with compassion and love.